baby, so the seed or embryo or young sporophyte, remember all of these the same thing, in a box. What's the box?
The seed coat?
Seed, remember we do seed coat. You just remember just put the coat on. Yes, the seed coat with its food.
Endosperm.
Which is endosperm. Did I say the word water?
No.
No. It will only obtain that once it starts to germinate.
The seed can be dormant for years.
Yeah, exactly. It may not have any water, so it's not going to grow. More stuff. Know the difference between simple fruit, aggregate fruit, and multiple fruit. So do y'all remember the difference when it comes to y'all remember the simple drawings and stuff? Because every year, some people get messed up with that, and that's fine.
I get aggregate fruit and multiple fruit mixed up.
It happens. Everybody does it. So you just have to remember if you've got, there's my stigma, here's the petals, there we go. So this would be a simple. You've got one ovary and one flower. Or I guess I should say one flower with one ovary. That's simple. Aggregate. Here's my petals. Thank you. I only always draw the female part. It'll still have the male parts. We don't always draw all of it, and I won't draw it on the other side so it doesn't get too insane. But it's still one flower. So we still have one flower, but we have, I guess I shouldn't say multiple ovaries because that could be a confusion. I'll just say lots of ovaries. That's what it has. So my example, I have 4 ovaries. We got the ovaries galore. That I may have just solved why that's confusion because I think I just say multiple ovaries.
It says one flower, multiple ovaries.
I never thought about that until I just said, I was like, that might be why everybody gets confused. Oh my gosh. So one flower with one ovary, but a shit ton. All right, so you've got, here's a flower and here's its cute little ovary. And then we're gonna make them, we won't make them opposite, we'll make them alternate. Boop. Here's one, so this would be your pineapple.
They're all like mashed together.
Yeah, they're obviously very, very much close together, way closer than what I'm drawing, but that's okay. I'm trying to be fast here. So it's one flower, one ovary, one flower, one ovary, one flower, one ovary, one flower, one ovary. But they're all doing it within a space that's about this big. So if you take like 500 flowers and they all have their own ovary and they're being shoved into a box this big, well, yeah, they're gonna start bouncing into each other, but that's why we have the pineapple. And if you look closely, y'all remember how it looks like this? And when you cut on the inside, you can see it looks like little happy faces. That's where the ovaries were. So that was one flower, one flower, one flower. You were one flower, one flower, one flower. So you're looking at, boop, boop, boop. You're looking at those carpels that were inside of the female. So you're just being so close together, you don't have a choice. You're gonna have to grow into one giant fruit. Whereas these just swell up and it's all part of one flower anyway, so they're gonna make your blackberries, your strawberries, magnolias, figs. I'm sure I'm forgetting something else.
Blackberries aren't multiple.
And blackberries, yeah. I knew there was somebody I was forgetting.
So what is the rest of that sentence that says?
This one?
Yeah.
But a shit ton?
Yeah.
So there's like 100 just shoved in here together. So they have one flower and one ovary, but there's so many flowers just stuck they're so close together they don't have any breathing room. So it's like we took all of us and I made every single one of y'all stand on this piece of the table, and then y'all start blowing up. Yeah, y'all gonna touch each other and you're gonna form one pineapple because you can't help it. You have no place to go and you're like Veruca Salt and you have to stick together. But that's why the pineapple, when we cut it, you can see the inside, some of them will have the seeds. Those were all in each little weird triangular looking structure would have been one flower. So you see how many there were. There was like 100 of them that make one. So they're just so close, like, God, I wish you would get off of me, but they don't have a choice. Versus here, they all have one mama. They're all hanging out together. It's just one giant, or one, not I don't say giant, one flower. It just has several ovaries. this catches people every year, and maybe because of how I'm explaining it with saying, which I'm not gonna say that, if that makes sense now. All right, what was the other big thing? Oh, okay, so flower, or angiosperms have the 3 F's. What are they?
Double fertilization,
Uh-huh,
flowers,
Uh-huh.
fruit,
and fruit. All right, so what does double fertilization mean? What's happening?
There's 2 of the sperm cells
Yep,
that are transferred from the pollen sac,
pollen grain,
pollen grain.
which was in the pollen sac and pollen grain.
One goes to the what's the cells that are in the middle?
I don't know, you also
I
need.
forget what the egg, polar cell, yeah.
One's the egg, and one's the
Polar nuclei.
polar nuclei, yep. And so if you have, and I'm gonna write on here with this, this is not a good pen. So let me use a different color. So if you have an egg, so an egg cell is how many? Is it haploid or diploid?
Haploid.
So you have an egg cell, and we combine it with a sperm cell. What's a sperm cell, haploid or diploid?
Haploid,
What did you create?
2 in,
Which is?
diploid.
Yep. So you have a diploid zygote / baby sporophyte, seed, whatever you want to call it. So that would have been sperm and an egg. Did I say that wrong? My brain just was like, did you say that right? All right, so the other sperm, what did y'all just tell me it went to fertilize?
The polar nuclei, which is 2 in.
Which is 2 in, so you got an N, I don't want to confuse you, you've got 2 of them, so an N and an N and an N. So what's N plus N plus N?
Triploid.
So you made a triploid cell. What is that 3N cell or structure called?
Endosperm.
Yes, endosperm, which is what is that going to be?
It's the lunch.
Yep, there's the baby's lunch, right? The seed, embryo, young sporophyte, whatever you want to call it. That's going to be its food.
So does that zygote feed off of that endosperm while it's remaining dormant? So theoretically, eventually, it's going to run out of endosperm?
It can take a very long time.
Okay.
Because you got to think it's not growing, it's not really going through mitosis, so it doesn't need a lot.
But
It's not like
such
it's eating every day.
You're saying it's such a slow,
It's a slow
such a
process,
slow
because this can
consumption
last
of the endosperm that it
centuries.
could potentially, it could be like hundreds of years.
Yeah, it's fine.
Ah.
And then eventually it has enough water where it'll grow and, yep. All right, what else do we want to know about that? We talked about that. Ooh, okay. Do y'all, hopefully you recall, if I was to put something on the test and it shows, all right, let's do, that's the male side. So if I have a flower and I'm showing you the anther of the flower, and then it shows that this is being cut. Y'all remember that nightmare? Oh God, and we have the stuff on the inside and it leads to this, it leads to this. Y'all remember that? Good.
So much.
Remember some mother cells?
Yeah.
So I think somebody just went, ah. Something like that. I don't even know if I did that. No, I did. Because it's going to be cute. Looks like that weird sun. So do you remember the male side?
That's the microgrid effect.
Yes, the end result. So this would be the male side. So y'all remember the microspore mother cell, the microspore, well actually it's a tetrad of microspores. Each tetrad of microspores will divide out or germinate or grow or mitotically divide. Again, 100 ways to describe what it's doing. It's creating the end result. So the end result is the pollen grain, AKA, yes, your microgametophyte. So that is, there is a question which y'all saw on past quizzes and stuff. What is the gametophyte generation? It is the pollen grain. All right. On the female side, if we were to draw that, the same kind of thing. She's got this weird embryo sac thing on the inside. I'm running out of space. Embryo sac thing on the inside. So she has her megasporocyte mother cell, which eventually, I guess I'll draw it without it. Oh, that looks horrible. So we'll have our megaspore, remember the functioning one, because these other 3 kind of go away. And then eventually she creates our structure that looks like this.
The Waffle House one?
No, that's gymnosperms.
Oh.
We are not going to Waffle House this exam. No more Waffle House. I know, I'm so sorry. So this is the end result, the female gametophyte, or mega gametophyte. What is her name?
The embryo side.
Yep. Gameto, that's a P. Right. That is the embryo sac. What's that? I guess I should give them a nucleus too. Y'all can all have a nucleus. There you go. What's the big one in the middle?
Zygote.
The egg. Eventually it'll be the zygote. Hopefully if we get a sperm there, it will be. We have an egg. Who protects her on the side?
Synergids.
The synergids. What do?
They guide the.
They go beep, 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 right? They guide. What are, ooh, there's not that many, right? Not yet. I went ahead and added that third one. Whoop, not yet, I went ahead of myself. What is that? Oh, that's why I forgot this other one. Boop. I was like, that's not 8, it's 8 nucleoid cell. All right, so this is a polar nuclei, which hopefully that's gonna be plus sperm, right? And that becomes what?
3N.
3N, that becomes endosperm. Hopefully this will eventually, the egg will be plus sperm, and then that's gonna be the zygote, or the seed, right? Bloop. And then those, you remember the name of those in the back?
Antipodal cells.
Antipodal cells. We think, not 100% sure, the idea is that they are giving nutrition to this little developing egg. We want to keep the egg nice and happy and healthy because hopefully she's going to be the seed. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Might do the rest of this out of order. Let's see. Ooh, okay, when we talked about the lights, do y'all remember which wavelength of light has the largest wavelength? So it's kind of slow. It is red. And which one has the shortest wavelength?
Violet.
It's the very last, violet. Which one has more energy? Does this look like it has more energy? Or
Violet has more energy.
right? So the violet, woo! It's like me, it's crazy. The red is, so if you come into that red light, you gotta slow it down. You don't have much energy at all. Told you about that. So if I asked you, you're gonna have a few questions about this. We'll have like, it'll say photostation 1, photostation 2, electron transport chain, and then the ATP synthase. And those are the main parts that we see of the light reactions for photosynthesis. So if it asks about which one of those, so either photosystem 1, 2, ATP synthase, or the electron transport chain, which one is pretty much responsible for pumping in hydrogen protons from the stroma, the outside, into the lumen. It's also responsible for carrying the electrons from one to another, or the pigments from one to another. Anything that's carrying anything, what are you going to say does that?
Electron transport chain.
It's the electron transport chain. So they're the ones that are actually moving all the electrons around, right? They're the ones that are carrying the electrons. That's why it's called the electron transport chain, right? Know what the end result of the light reaction is. The very end, what are we creating?
NADPH and ATP and O2.
And that waste product oxygen that we don't need, but we need it, they don't. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but when it's undergoing mitosis in your plant, every cell divides and it creates a sister. You remember that? And so every time it's one stays there, you remember what those first ones are called? Starts with an I, initials, and then it makes the derivative. Go back, that one's the beginning of, I think, 23-ish, around there. But I had that picture, so I think it had pink or green and blue, had the different ones. But every time a plant cell divides at the meristem, it divides, because every cell divides into 2, so it creates 2 daughter cells. One stays the initial, the other one becomes the derivative. So the derivative will go on to become root cell, piece of the fruit, leaf cell, whatever it needs to be. But the initial stays in that meristem area. So when this one splits, it'll split and makes 2 cells, will form another derivative and another initial. So we always keep one of the daughter cells there to become a derivative cell to go on to become anything. And remember, even if its mission is maybe to come over here and be a flower petal cell, but it got stuck somewhere, I don't know, down here, then it can change and it can become a stem cell, right? So it's interesting that they can do that. It's kind of where they're meant to go. They get sent off, but they get stuck and get placed somewhere else. That's fine. They can be whatever. They know what the surrounding area is. It has to do with hormones, but they can become whatever they need to be depending on where they're at. You're not going to have a flower in the middle of a root. That's not going to happen. That would be neat, but yeah, it
Do
doesn't
we have
work.
to know that that's differentiation?
I would know derivative.
Derivative.
Yep, it's initial and the derivative. And yeah, there was a thing, I can't remember, but it's towards the beginning of one of the first slides that we did. Where do the lateral roots come out of? Starts with a P. So the lateral roots come out of the structure. It looks like this. Remember, it kind of looks like this, and then eventually it looks like this, and then eventually they'll bust out. Lateral roots come out of the pericycle. Make sure you're looking at that. What else? What else? What else? We talked about that. What do root caps do? Do y'all remember root caps?
Protects the tip of the root as it burrows into the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a lubricant around it.
It does. So it aids in soil penetration. It helps, yeah, with the pushing of the root down. What causes the pushing of the root? How is it getting pushed down?
So meristem.
It's from the site of meristem
Elongation.
during the site of elongation in the cell, yes, or cell elongation, yes. It also controls the root cap. Will control the movement. Are we going to continue down? Can it sense there's water there, or is it going to say, "Oh, there's an old root system here. I'm going to go sideways"? So the root cap has a lot of responsibilities. Is it absorbing any of the water or the minerals? No, root caps don't do that. Who's responsible for absorbing the water and any minerals? Not the root cap.
Just the roots.
All the little root hairs that are coming off. So as it's being pushed down, this area of elongation, once it's good and mature, we're going to start making all those root hairs that came out of the pericycle. They're the ones that are responsible for sucking up all the minerals in the roots. And they don't just suck it up, it's the whole thing, and we'll talk about that later, but we'll just say they suck it up for now. That makes sense? Because the root cap, it's just literally pushing everything, well, being pushed through. It's not responsible for taking anything up. Told you about that. What's the definition of a fruit? You got two words.
A mature, ripened ovary.
That's three.
That's what it
Just
is.
mature ovary, right? If you put that, that's fine. But know that. What's the definition of a seed?
A fertilized.
You can say fertilized or mature.
A fertilized.
In other words, starts with an O. Ovule, right? Ovules become the seeds. The ovaries become the fruits. Fleshy or dry, just depending on what we're talking about. Know the diagram of a typical leaf with all of the layers. Y'all saw that on the quiz things where you have the cuticle and the palisade parenchyma, and the stomata and the epidermis, upper and lower epidermis. What am I forgetting? The spongy parenchyma. I think that's it. Oh, vascular bundles, because that's the xylem and the phloem. Don't forget about that. Know the end result of the carbon fixation cycle, aka the Calvin cycle, aka the C3 pathway. That's all the difference. What's the end result of that?
Rubisco.
Yep.
It reproduces Rubisco to restart the cycle.
But what's the very end result?
Sugar,
Yes.
starch,
Yes. Type of sugar. Yes.
G3.
AD,
glucose.
it's
Yep.
ADP or ADP
ADP
and
plus
then
NADP plus.
Yes. So your ATP gets separated into ADP, and then there's your extra P, your phosphate floating
The
around.
oxidized versions.
Yeah, then we have NADP plus because the hydrogen popped off. Basically, that electron got donated, so it just kind of hops off the train. But yeah, creation of glucose, aka starch, aka a simple sugar. All those mean the same difference. Sucrose, all of that, glucose, whatever. All that's the same difference. Know the types of ground tissue, who's alive at maturity, who's dead, the different types of ground tissue. That's the parenchyma, sclerenchyma, and then what's the other? Parenchyma, all those fun words we talked about those not too long ago. I know it's out of order, but where do the light reactions occur within a chloroplast? Would it be the stroma, ATP synthase, stomata, or the thylakoid lumen?
Inside the lumen.
Inside that thylakoid lumen, yes. What part of light reactions is responsible for splitting up water?
Light reaction.
What part of the light reactions?
Yes,
PlayStation 1, right? No, it is 2. It is 2, because why is 2 first?
Because it's the first one we discovered.
We found it first, even though it doesn't, or we found it first, even though it comes second, which is really weird. So PlayStation 2 is first. It's the better version anyway, right?
Two's second, even though it works first.
It's the second one?
Wasn't two found second? Even though it
Yes.
works first?
I don't know what I just said, but
You
yes.
said two found first.
No, it was not. I'm just trying, in my head I was trying to say the second one was found first, because it's the second one, but it's still, that's a mess. So yes, PlayStation 1 was found first, Photosystem 1 was found first.
No,
Yeah.
the other way.
No, photosystem 1 was found first.
So when you look at
Oh,
it,
wait, no,
technically,
okay. The light, but the
But
light
the-
hits, yes, 2 first.
yes,
Okay.
but we just
But the
found
order
this
of
one first.
operations.
We didn't realize, oh crap, there's another one that's over there. We know the electrons go through here, and then we get over to ATP synthase that looks like a weird thing that I just drank. Anything else? Talked about that. Talked about that. Definitely know, or what are the 3 tissue systems that plants have? 3 tissue types. They have ground tissue, dermal tissue, and somebody said it, and vascular tissue. What about Kleenex? Someone's, Aiden's gonna put, yep, Kleenex, that's the 4th one. No, it's only 3. I think that's about it. You're gonna have a diagram with the chloroplast, but you've seen it before, because y'all keep messing with it. So remember, if you just have one, that's the thylakoid, just one. Your Oreo cookie, the stack of Oreo cookies is called what? A grana. And then what's this one called that's connecting these other stack of Oreo cookies? Thylakoid, or lumen thylakoid. But stroma thylakoid. Stroma
It's one of those other 2
thylakoid.
words.
What are those other words? I don't know.
It doesn't have a real name, but just stole the name of the
It did. It was like, I'm in the stroma, and you're a thylakoid, you're a
Somebody
thylakoid.
was just trying to wrap
Now,
it
you know in 2 years they'll have a new name for it. It'll be like the sideways pathway thylakoid or something.